Welcome to the AEN Stories channel.
I was 39 the year my daughter started checking the locks twice before bed. It wasn't something I told her to do. She picked it up the same way she picked up my habit of rinsing dishes as soon as they hit the sink, and the way she tucks her hair behind her left ear when she's thinking, a small motion, a marker of a life learning to steady itself. My name is Ryan. I stock shelves on the graveyard shift at a warehouse that feeds 24 grocery stores across the county. By 3 a.m. I know every aisle of that place like a map in my palm: dry goods, paper products, the freezer that makes your breath look like apology. I come home when the streetlights are still on and the birds haven't made up their minds. Coffee, shower, a pan of eggs if my stomach remembers how to be hungry. I try to sleep while the day does its loudest work. My wife, ex-wife now, Olivia, was 34 and smarter than the trouble she found, which sometimes makes trouble burn hotter. When we met, she had a plan for everything. I loved that about her. She'd call the dentist, book an oil change, fill out camp forms before the ink on the flyers was dry. She could talk our way out of late fees and talk the teacher into letting me redo a quiz she'd biffed. She made lists with check boxes. I liked watching her cross things off. 3 summers ago, Olivia started saying she was going to evening classes at the community college. "They're doing this accelerated certificate thing," she said, sliding a glossy brochure across the table. It had diverse people smiling at computers. Office admin. Good pay. Flexible. Sounds smart, I said, because it did, and because I wanted it to be. We were coming off a rough batch, hours cut at the warehouse, the car's radiator dying like it had personal beef with us, a winter that ate our power bill and asked for seconds. Mia was 13 and suddenly everything counted more. Clothes that fit. The right calculator for math. A phone she tried to pretend she didn't care about as much as her friends did. Olivia went every Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes Saturdays. She'd leave with a spiral notebook and a reusable bottle like a student. She'd come home late, loose, too bright in the eyes, with explanations that sounded like they'd been practiced in the car. How was class? Fine. PowerPoint is a nightmare. What did you learn? How to make a mail merge. I nod. She'd kiss my temple. Sometimes she smelled like the kind of cologne men buy when they want other men to know they spent money. Sometimes she smelled like cigarettes she didn't smoke. Mia would be on the couch pretending not to wait up. "Mom, did you bring snacks?" she'd ask. Olivia would pull something small from her bag, a granola bar or a pack of gummies, and toss it over. They'd both laugh. It looked like a scene from A Good Life. It felt like it, too, if I didn't think too hard about how the edges didn't line up. The first time I heard the name Alana in a way that mattered, it was over the sink while I was scrubbing a pan with a sponge that had given up. "You remember Alana?" Olivia asked. "From high school? She's in my class." I remembered Alana. Everyone did. She was the kind of girl you used to plan your day around in 10th grade because you thought she might smile at you. She moved away, came back, had a run of jobs you could list like receipts. "She's doing great now," Olivia said. "Knows people. She's got connections." "Connections to what?" I asked, half laughing. "Stuff. Work. Gig things." Olivia's hand flicked in the air like she was batting at a gnat made of specifics. I wanted to be better than my suspicions. I wanted to be a man who trusts the people in his house. Some nights, that's the easiest thing in the world. Others, it's like lifting drywall by yourself, technically possible, unadvisable, likely to hurt. It started with little things that are only little until you add them up. A Venmo from a name I didn't know. Cash in Olivia's jeans when there was no cash to be in anyone's jeans. A necklace I hadn't seen before, small and pretty and too expensive for her lately. I asked, and she said, it was a gift, relax, in a tone that made gifts sound like mind your business. Mia watched us watch each other. Kids are good at that. She'd be sketching at the table, pencil making soft scratches, and look up before anyone raised a voice, like she had sonar for fights. "I'm gonna go walk the dog," she'd say, and we don't have a dog. Spring turned to a hot lawn of a summer. Olivia went to more classes than ever. "They added lab hours," she said. "We do practice." "What kind of practice?" I asked. "Typing." She held up her hands, flexed them. "Big day for QWERTY." I made a joke about the caps lock key. She didn't laugh. I should have pushed harder. If this was a story where I'm the hero, I would have picked up the phone and called the college and asked if they had a Veronica Mars program for suspicious husbands. I didn't. Partly because I hated the idea of myself as a suspicious husband. Mostly because I wanted what Olivia wanted to be true, that this was about a better job, a better life, a way out of the feeling that our bank balance was a joke with a mean punchline. The night Mia called me crying, the phone vibrated against the ribbed plastic of a U-boat at work. 8:41 p.m. I was mid-aisle with a pallet of canned tomatoes and a supervisor who thinks time is elastic if it's other people's. I saw her name and my body answered before my brain did. "Baby?" I said, which I only ever say when she is small again. "Dad," she said, voice already broken. "Can you come get me?" "Where are you?" She told me the cross streets. I know this city. The blocks have their own faces. These were not the blocks you want your kid learning their names. "Why are you there?" I asked, trying to keep the panic out of my voice and failing. "I was with Eve and her brother, they drove me to get tacos and then they dropped me at the bus and then I saw Mom. She's with I don't know who they are. She's in the car. She saw me. She pretended she didn't see me." "You're safe?" "I'm at the corner. There's a store. The man told me to wait inside." "Stay there. Do not go anywhere. Do not talk to anyone else. I'm 10 minutes." I put the tomatoes down. I said a sentence to my supervisor that would get me written up in a different life. I drove with my hazards on and my jaw set like it was holding my head together. The store was a bodega with a bell that dinged like a tiny alarm. Mia stood by a rack of beef jerky strips and gum, eyes wide, arms folded in a way that looked like she was holding herself in. The man behind the counter looked at me and then at her and nodded. "Dad?" he said to me, like we might need to confirm roles. I nodded back. "Thank you," I said to him. I'll never forget his face. He didn't do anything complicated. He did exactly what you hope a stranger will do when your kid needs a safe square of floor to occupy. Outside, the air smelled like heat and garbage. "Show me where," I said. Mia led me half a block down. A dark sedan idled under a broken streetlight. 2 men in the front seat. A shape in the back. I didn't need to see her whole face to know it was Olivia. She glanced over once, quick, like a shoplifter clocking the cameras. Our eyes met for a sliver. She looked away like the night had other instructions. My hand went flat against Mia's back and stayed there. "Get in the car," I said. "Seatbelt." We drove home the long way because I needed the time to decide whether my voice would be useful. "Dad," Mia said, looking out the window. "I don't want to go back if she's there." "She's not there," I said, and I didn't know if it was true yet, but it needed to be. At the apartment, the living room lights were off. The coffee table had a smear of something on it that had nothing to do with coffee. I took a breath I didn't want my daughter to hear and turned on the kitchen light. The counter looked the way counters look when nobody has been eating in the kitchen. "Go take a shower," I said. "I'll make you eggs." "It's late," she said. "So we'll call it breakfast." She smiled like a person who appreciates an adult trying too hard. She showered. I scrambled eggs and oversalted them and she ate every bite and I stood there with my hands on the back of a chair like it was holding me up. At 10:20, Olivia texted, "Home late. Don't wait up." I put the phone face down on the counter like it had misbehaved. The next morning, I called in sick and took Mia to school myself. Her hands shook when she put on her backpack. "Do I have to tell Ms. Klein?" she asked. "Ms. Klein is the counselor with kind eyes and too many kids to help." "You can tell her whatever you want to tell her," I said. "You can tell her nothing. You can ask to sit in her room and not talk at all." She nodded. That's what she did. She sat in Ms. Klein's room until third period. She didn't talk. Ms. Klein emailed me, "I'm here for Mia. And for you." At noon, I called a lawyer. I'd never called a lawyer in my life. I googled family law custody emergency and picked the one with a website that didn't look like it was made on a dare. The receptionist put me on hold for 3 minutes while I stared at a plant on my desk that didn't need water because it was plastic. The lawyer called back at 12:22. "Tell me everything in 3 minutes," she said. I did. "Okay," she said. "We'll file an emergency petition for temporary custody and a protective order if we can justify it. You need to call CPS yourself before anyone else calls for you. You want to be first with the truth." I called CPS. I told the woman my name, my daughter's name, my ex's name. I told her about the car, the men, the crying. I kept my voice low because I didn't want to scare the life we were trying to protect. "Is your daughter safe right now?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "With me." "Is the mother using substances in the home?" "I don't know everything," I said. "I know enough to say that I can't trust her choices right now." "We'll send someone out," she said. "Probably today. Please have any court paperwork ready if you get it. Please don't tell the mother we're coming until we've made contact." "I won't," I said, and hated that this was a sentence I had to say about a person I used to plan vacations with. Olivia came in at 2 p.m. Like she'd been at the grocery store. She had a coffee cup in her hand and wore sunglasses you don't need indoors unless you're hiding. "You're here," she said, mildly surprised, as if I was the one doing something unusual. "Mia saw you last night," I said. "In the car." She lifted a shoulder like a shrug was a spell. "It was nothing." "She cried," I said. "She called me from a store because she was scared." "Drama," Olivia said. The word felt like a slap. "She's 13. "That's exactly why it matters," I said. "You're so judgmental," she said. "You always have been." There are things I could have said then. I could have named the men. I could have named the money. I could have said classes in a tone that turned the word to ash. Instead I said, "A social worker is coming later," and watched the sentence land. Her mouth curled like she'd bitten an unripe fruit. "You called CPS on me?" "I told the truth first," I said. "Because someone is going to, and I need it to be me." She put the coffee down hard enough to slop some on the counter. "You're trying to take my daughter." "I'm trying to keep her safe," I said. "If you can keep her safe with you, that's what I want more than anything." "Liar," she said, and one part of me wanted to make a list the way she used to, bullet points titled all the times I didn't lie. I didn't. I picked up a dish rag and wiped the spilled coffee because this is what life is, dramatic sentences and wiping counters. The social worker came at 4:10. A woman in her 40s with a tote bag that looked heavier than it was and a comb that felt like it had been practiced. She sat at our table. She asked questions with notes taped to the inside of her head: routine, school, money, drugs, nights, names. Olivia answered in ways that would have fooled me years ago. I answered in ways that made me sound like I wanted to win a debate. Mia came home at 3:30 and sat with her hands in her lap like a folded napkin. The social worker asked if she wanted to talk privately. Mia nodded. They went to her room. I stood in the kitchen with a glass of water and watched Olivia drink from the coffee cup like it was the one thing in the room that didn't hate her. I thought about the woman who used to stick post-its on the bathroom mirror, buy stamps, school fee, call plumber. I thought about how you can be 5 decisions away from the worst version of yourself if you always pick the door with the flashing light. They came back out. The social worker said, "For now, we're going to recommend Mia remain with Dad while we do a full assessment. Ms. Harper, we will set up a safety plan and you will have specific times to visit with Mia in public places. We will talk about treatment referrals." Olivia's laugh had an edge. "Treatment," she said, like she was trying the word on and it didn't fit. "For you," the social worker said. "And for your family." After that, things moved and things stalled, the way systems do. The lawyer filed the petition. The court set a hearing a week out. In the meantime, Olivia could see Mia at the park if she texted me and didn't show up. Hi. Some days, that's exactly what happened. Olivia wore her hair in a bun like she was trying to look like a mom you'd hire to watch your kid. They sat on a bench and ate ice cream. Mia came home smelling like vanilla and trying not to cry. Other days, Olivia didn't come at all. Mia sat on a picnic table and watched ants find a sugar packet. She said her phone died. Mia would tell me, and I'd say, "I'm sorry," because that's not what she needed from me, and also it's exactly what she needed from me. It was the only sentence that fit in the whole. The night before court, I couldn't sleep. I ironed a shirt that didn't need ironing because it calmed my hands. I wrote down what I wanted to say in case my brain turned to putting on the stand. Mia came out of her room at midnight. "Can I sleep on the couch?" she asked. I think she hasn't asked since she was 8 and had nightmares about being small. "You can sleep wherever you want," I said. She curled under a blanket that smells like our laundry soap and the dog we don't have and fell asleep facing the door. Family court doesn't look like TV. The carpet looks like it's trying to hide the color of the shoes that have walked on it. The bailiff has a tired face. The judge could be your neighbor if your neighbor has a way of making you sit up straighter when they enter a room. Olivia came with a lawyer I recognized from a billboard. He had 2 white teeth. My lawyer had post-its in 4 colors. Mia had a braid I tried 3 times before I got it right. We sat. The judge called us. My lawyer spoke first. She said the words, safety, stability, immediate risk. Olivia's lawyer said different words, disparagement, control, overreach. The judge asked questions like she was trying to peel the story down to the stem: who, when, where. Olivia took the stand. She said she was taking classes toward a certificate. She said the men in the car were rides she'd taken to get to class. She said she'd been in a bad place and she was better now. Then the judge asked if Mia wanted to say anything. We had talked about this. I told her she didn't have to. Ms. Klein told her she didn't have to. Kids, if they're going to step into the middle of something that can cut them, need at least 10 adults to say, "You can walk around it if you want." Mia said she wanted to speak. She stood. The bailiff held out a Bible. She glanced at me. I nodded, the smallest movement, like you nod to a runner taking the baton. She swore in a voice that sounded like she was borrowing it from a girl a year older. "Mia," the judge said, and her voice softened just enough to let the wind out of the room. "Tell me what you want me to know." Mia looked at her hands, then at me, then at her mother. She did not rush. "I love my mom," she said, and Olivia's face folded a little. "But when she goes to her classes, she comes home different. Sometimes she doesn't come home. I saw her one night. She was in a car with men. It was not a class." A little hum went through the room and then went away. Kids have a way of getting grown-ups to shut up. "I was scared," Mia said. "I called my dad. I want to live with him. I want to see my mom when she's okay." She sat. The judge wrote something. The judge looked at Olivia. "Ms. Harper," she said, "do you have anything you want to say to your daughter?" Olivia swallowed. She stood. She did not look at me. She looked at Mia. "I'm sorry," she said. I could tell she meant it, and I could tell sorry wasn't nearly a big enough word. The judge ruled. Temporary custody to me, formalizing what had already been true. A visitation schedule for Olivia, supervised at first, then unsupervised if certain boxes got checked: treatment, clean tests, consistent attendance. A requirement: parenting classes. Another: no contact with acquaintances with active warrants. You know you've slid down a hill when that has to be written into your family life in black ink. We went home. I made spaghetti with the jar sauce that goes on sale midweek. Mia grated cheese with the cheap grater that always tries to take your fingertips. We ate on the couch with plates in our laps and watched a baking show that has exactly one plot: can the cake survive gravity and time? "I like the cat judge," Mia said. "He wears a tie," I said. We laughed. The house smelled like garlic and soap. I did the dishes. Mia FaceTimed her friend to show her the braid. I checked the door locks once. She checked them twice. What happens after a judge reads a piece of your life into the record isn't an ending. It's another kind of beginning. There were mornings when I left a note on the counter: "Have a good day. Don't forget your poster. Love you," and then found it in the trash because Mia didn't want Ms. Klein to think she was a baby. There were afternoons when Olivia texted 15 minutes before a visit to say she couldn't make it, and Mia said, "It's fine," and then went to her room and cried because fine is a word you use when you want the people in your house to survive you. There were nights when Olivia showed up sober and early with a bag of Mia's favorite candy and a real smile, and they walked around the lake and came home with matching bracelets and a story about a duck with one foot. Olivia went to treatment. Not because the court made her, because the court made her want to. She sat in rooms with bad coffee and folding chairs and people who said "me too" in a way that did not make her feel unique. She told the truth more often. It made her smaller in her own stories and bigger in mine. She got a job at a call center where she could sit and type and talk and there wasn't much room for the night to come in. She sent me links to videos that are just people frosting cakes for 6 minutes without speaking. They watched them together, 2 phones held up to 2 faces in 2 places. I kept working nights and figuring out dinners and figuring out algebra with YouTube's help and learning to braid better and learning when to push and when to say, "That sounds hard," without adding a lecture. I have never been a fan of laundry. I learned to love laundry. A basket that goes from full to empty is a sermon that preaches itself. The day the final order came through, custody to me, visitation to Olivia per the plan, a review in 6 months, I took Mia to the diner we used to go to after little kids' soccer games. The waitress still calls everyone on. We split a piece of pie even though it was 3 in the afternoon and there was no good reason to. "Too boring," I said, raising my fork. Mia clinked hers against mine. "Too boring," she said, and we laughed. On the drive home, my phone buzzed at a red light. It was Olivia. "Tell Mia I got to 90 days. I showed the screen to my daughter. She read it twice and then typed a reply on my phone because sometimes you let your kid be your secretary for the sentence that matters. "Proud of you," she wrote. "See you Sunday." She added a heart. She handed the phone back and stared out the window like maybe she could see Sunday from here. We pulled into our spot. The neighbor's dog barked at nothing. The cat that isn't ours judged us from the stoop like we were late. Inside, the apartment smelled like us, a mix of detergent, pencil shavings, and the lemon cleaner I buy because it makes the counters look like you made a good decision. Mia dropped her backpack and checked the locks, twice. I didn't say anything. She didn't either. Some rituals don't need narrators. I opened the fridge. There was milk. There were apples. There was leftover spaghetti in a clear container with a piece of tape that said "Dad's" even though anybody could eat it. I stood there with the door open, looking at proof that the world can be ordinary and okay at the same time. What I've learned, if you want it put into words, is that love isn't the dramatic stuff we make movies about. It's logistics and mercy and paperwork and sitting in a hallway outside a courtroom and not making anyone feel small for telling the truth. It's a 13-year-old who says, "I want to live with my dad," and a mother who nods because she knows she can't ask for what she doesn't have to give. It's a man who answers his phone in the middle of his shift and doesn't hang up until his kid is in his car. It's the bodega guy who says "stay here" and means it. It's the social worker's tote bag. It's the lawyer's post-its. It's the judge's voice when she makes the hard thing official and gentle at the same time. If you ask me about the night Mia called, I can tell you the streetlight was broken and the car was dark and Olivia looked away too fast. If you ask me about today, I can tell you Mia is doing a project on the water cycle and she needs a poster board and that she thinks the word condensation is gross. Olivia texted a photo of her dinner, something simple and brown that looks like honesty. "I'm going to stop at the store after work and buy eggs and batteries and the decent shampoo. I'll braid my daughter's hair in the morning. We will check the locks, twice. It will feel less like fear and more like a habit we're allowed to keep until we don't need it." I don't know what the next 6 months look like. I know there will be a Sunday at the lake when Olivia is on time and the bracelets match and the duck shows up with the 1 foot. I know there will be a Thursday when the spaghetti sauce goes on sale. I know Mia will talk too fast about some group project and I'll pretend to understand and ask the right dumb questions anyway. I know the smell of lemon cleaner will keep meaning we tried today. I'm not a hero. I'm a man who stocks shelves and wipes counters and signs forms and answers his phone and keeps showing up. Sometimes that's enough to turn a corner. Sometimes it's just enough to hold a place in line until the person you love can step back into it. Either way, it's the job I want. And for now, it's the job I have. Thank you for listening my story. If you want more raw, real, and gripping stories like this one, Subscribe to the AEN Stories channel. Your support keeps these stories alive.